Hello guys, welcome back. My name's Nathan and today we're going to be going over my November 2020 NHL mock draft and my top 15 prospect rankings. Now November is finally here and you guys know what that means. It's time for another NHL mock draft from yours truly. And for the top 15 prospect rankings, there was a lot of movement and also a lot of surprises. So for all my opinions and my rankings, watch till the end to find out. Now just like last month's rankings, this will be a fusion of a mock draft mixed with a prospect rankings. I'll be doing my top 15 prospect rankings where I think these prospects should go, but they'll also be assigned to a team for basically the standings. So for example, the 15th overall pick right now would be the Arizona Coyotes, who sit at 15th last in the NHL. They would get my 15th selection, and so on and so forth. Now without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now for my 15th best prospect November edition in the 2020 NHL draft, I have Jeremie Polrler, and at that point the Arizona Coyotes would be the team to get him. Defenseman, age 17 in the QMJHL, 6 foot, 192 pounds. He's an absolute beast, and to me he is the second best defenseman in the draft. He's on a super terrible team. The Sea Dogs are like 4th last in the QMJHL, and Jeremie Polrler is like the only hope they have right now. Now, so far in 17 games, the QMJHL, Poirier has got 6 goals, 9 assists for 15 points. And those are pretty solid stats, especially when you consider the St. John Sea Dogs being 4th last in the QMJHL. He's been very impressive this season, and Poirier, I would say, is maybe the best two-way defenseman in this draft. You have Jamie Drysdale, who's the best right now, I'd say, who can just beat you in offense, but not be the greatest defensively. Poirier can do great in both. At offense and defense, he's been very, very solid, and while he's got a little bit of a cold streak offensively, the talent is still there. Now going into my 14th best prospect in the 2020 draft right now, I have Connor Zary. Now this pick right now is owned by the Carolina Hurricanes, but it was originally the Toronto Maple Leafs pick. Right now they are 14th last in the NHL, and this was the trade they gave Patrick Marleau to Carolina, and they gave that first round pick to get that cap off the books. Right now, it's not looking like the greatest decision. Patrick Marleau has been pretty good in San Jose, and Toronto's been sliding quite a bit. I don't think Toronto will miss the playoffs, but Carolina will get a guy like Connor Zary at this pick. Center, age 18, 6 foot, 174 pounds. Zary, while he is super old for his age, is still super good, and right now is leading the WHL in points. Now going on to my 13th best prospect in the 2020 draft, I have the legend among goaltenders, Yaroslav Askarov. 17 years old, Russian goalie, 6 foot 3, 176 pounds. The Tampa Bay Lightning right now own the pick 13th overall, and because this is prospect rankings, the Lightning would never pick Askarov, but they're in this spot, and this is who I see as the 13th best prospect. Askarov has had a somewhat great but also mess season in my opinion, but goaltending stats in their draft years somewhat don't really affect things. When you have the talent that Askarov has, he has the huge upside, and the upside to be one of the best goalies in the NHL someday. Now Askarov currently is playing in the VHL, basically the KHL's AHL, right now sitting at 9 games played with a 2.70 goals against average and a .907 save percentage. Those aren't absolutely spectacular stats, but they are still pretty good, especially for a 17-year-old in the VHL. I think Askarov, despite those stats, is still an excellent goaltender who should go top 15 in this draft, and is hands down, it's not even a question, the best goalie in this draft. Now getting into my 12th best prospect for the 2020 draft, right now I would have Hendrix Lapierre. Now this pick is owned by the Columbus Blue Jackets, and even without the mock draft, I would say this is a pretty solid fit. A Canadian center, age 17, sitting at 5'11", 172 pounds. Hendrix Lapierre hasn't had the most impressive QMJHL season, and that's why he's kind of gone down in my books, but he's still a brilliant playmaker, and while the goals haven't come yet, they will come sooner than later. Now with that goal scoring slump, his totals have been down, but in 13 QMJHL games, Lapierre has gotten 1 goal, but 12 assists for 13 games. He's almost an assist per game, which I think is pretty impressive. Unfortunately, the goal scoring hasn't come, and that's why he's not over that, but I think that will change eventually. He was just below a point per game last year, and hopefully we see some improvement there, because Lapierre is a guy that could go really high or super low. He's a big-time center with amazing playmaking ability that a team like Columbus would definitely die for. Now, getting into my 11th best prospect for the draft, I have Dylan Holloway. Now, the Winnipeg Jets would have this pick, and I could see this as an amazing fit for both sides. Dylan Holloway, a forward at age 18, currently 6 foot, 192 pounds, right now in the University of Wisconsin in the NCAA. Yes, he's playing with guys like Keandre Miller, Cole Caulfield, Alex Turcotte, but the way Dylan Holloway has played has been super impressive, and again, as an 18-year-old, has been very good. Now, one of the problems is that Dylan Holloway is just a few months younger than a guy like Alex Turcotte, but the stats he's been putting up are still very solid. In 6 games in the NCAA, Holloway has gotten 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points overall. And even without the points, I think he's one of the main reasons why the University of Wisconsin has been playing so well. Yes, you have amazing options like Caulfield, Turcotte, and Keandre Miller on that power play, but Holloway has been more the reason why they're so good, rather than just on the coattails of everybody else on that team. And in the NCAA in your draft year, that's super impressive to play well, and I think he's impressed me quite a bit. With his great offensive skills, he's a guy that could be a dynamic offensive forward in the future, that could be both a center or a winger if you want to. Now, getting into my top 10 for the 2020 draft, and on to my 10th best prospect. For the Philadelphia Flyers, they sit at the 10th overall pick, and for me, I have Noel Gunler. Right winger / left winger, age 18, another Swedish stud in this draft. Gunler is a guy that's dropped a little bit, not because I think he has had a bad month or anything, but mostly because other prospects have just been much better. I think Gunler has an impressive SHL campaign so far, but he is a pretty old prospect, already 18 years old, and you have to factor that in. I think Gunler is fantastic, should go top 10, but not quite top 5. Unfortunately, it seems like Team Sweden likes to forget that Noel Gunler exists, so I'm not sure if we'll see him in the World Juniors, but I think he deserves to be there. So far in the SHL, Volia HF has gotten 15 games played, 1 goal, 3 assists for 4 points overall. And while I don't see him as a top 5 prospect, I still think he's one of the elite in this draft class. I've seen a few people putting him in the 2nd round, which to me is absolute blasphemy. Now, getting into my 9th best prospect in the 2020 draft, Dallas's own pick right here. And as a Dallas Stars fan, I would love to get this guy at number 9, that being Tim Stutzle. The German stud himself, 17 years old, 5'11", 165 pounds. There's been very few prospects that have had a better season so far than Tim Stutzle. Currently being a point per game in the DEL at age 17 is something that we've never really seen before. Now, in the DEL with the Adler Mannheim, he's gotten 15 games played, has gotten 4 goals, 11 assists for 15 points. Now, we also have to factor in that he's gotten a huge amount of ice time, even strength and on the power play. But even with that, at age 17, to be a point per game in a men's league like that is super impressive. He's proved himself as a top 10 prospect at the very least, and right now is in the conversation as a top 5 pick. I don't see that quite yet, but the possibility is there. Now, getting into my 8th best prospect for the 2020 draft, onto the New York Rangers pick, and for me, the number 8 is Marco Rossi. Center, age 18, 5'9", 179 pounds. It's already super unique that he's 5'9", but the man is Austrian. We haven't seen an Austrian be this good in a draft in a long time. Being top 10 in a draft like this is super impressive. He came back from that suspension and has been more than good. He's been absolutely fantastic so far in the OHL. Now, his season so far has just been purely dominant. In 8 games at the Ottawa 67s, he's gotten 4 goals, but 15 assists for 19 points so far. This man is almost 2 assists per game as an Austrian-born player, and that is amazing to see. He did have that suspension, which lessened his games and gives us a less sample size, but from how he's played, he's done absolutely amazing. He is an older prospect, yes, being a September-born prospect, but from what he's done, he's still been super impressive. Now, circling back to my 7th best prospect in the NHL draft, and for my best defenseman in the NHL draft, number 7, I have Jamie Drysdale. Now, this pick will go to the Ottawa Senators, not because of the 7-Force team, but because they have the San Jose Sharks first-round pick. They might do to the San Jose Sharks what the Colorado Avalanche did to the Ottawa Senators. And at number 7, that is still an excellent pick. Now, Jamie Drysdale, defenseman at age 17, has had a terrific season with the Erie Otters, just like I expected. Now, as a defenseman on a team like the Erie Otters, which don't have many offensive weapons, at 14 games played, Drysdale has gotten 5 goals, 14 assists for 19 points. He is an assist per game as a defenseman, and those are super impressive stats. And again, Drysdale is more of an offensively minded defenseman, and it's good to see these stats come up. He's been a little bit of a slow streak recently, but I still think he's been fantastic. He doesn't have bad defense either, but obviously offense is his specialty. Speaking of offense's specialty, going to my 6th best prospect in the draft and Detroit's pick, I have Cole Perfetti. Center, age 17, sitting at 5'10", 185 pounds. As I like to call him, Cole Perfetti has been pretty much perfect in the OHL so far, and it's been great to see. Perfetti is one of my favorite prospects in the draft, and it's been that way for a very long time. After tearing up the OHL last year, he's on the same track, if not better, so far this season. Now, with Saginaw, Perfetti has gotten 16 games played, 5 goals, 22 assists for 27 points. And after last year in 63 games in the OHL getting 74 points, he's on pace to do even better this season. And that was to be expected, but it's still kind of insane. And Perfetti is an offensive beast. We've seen that in the OHL so far, but in every single way he can beat you. With a brilliant shot and an amazing pass, he hasn't gotten that goal scoring really up to par so far this season, but if he gets that goal scoring going, he could reach 100 points, and pretty easily. Now, reaching into the top 5 for my 2020 prospect rankings, and getting into my number 5 pick, Chicago's pick, I have Lucas Raymond. Right winger slash left winger, age 17. Raymond sits at 5'10", 165 pounds. And when it comes to Raymond in the SHL this season, I think he's been decent and pretty good. But he hasn't gone up to that amazing top 3 expectation that a lot of people, including me, had before. And you guys know from past mock drafts, if a prospect isn't performing up to expectation or is even playing poor, I'll drop them in the mock drafts. I don't really have too much hesitation for that. And Lucas Raymond to me has been not disappointing, but I definitely expected a lot more from him. In 12 SHL games, he's gotten 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points so far. And those are decent stats, especially for the ice time he gets, but I think a lot of people expected that Lucas Raymond would rise up to the occasion and deserve and get that ice time due to the performances he's had. But while he's not getting great ice time, he hasn't exactly really surpassed my expectations for him. I still think he's one of the best prospects in the draft and could totally, again, be in the top 3 by the end of it, but right now he's dropping back. Now, going to my 4th best prospect in the draft and going to the Minnesota Wild's pick, I now have the best finished prospect in the draft, Anton Lundell. Center slash right winger, age 18. Lundell was looked at as a guy that had supreme defense, but not a lot of great offensive upside. But so far this season in the Liga, he has proved a lot of people wrong and proved me right. He's been absolutely amazing in the Liga so far, and while he is getting a lot more ice time than other prospects, I think has performed and deserved that ice time so far. Now, so far, 15 games in the Liga season, Lundell has gotten 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 points. And when it comes to Lundell, the main harp against him was always that he didn't have that amazing offensive potential. But to me, I'm on quite the contrary. I think when it comes to Lundell, he has one of the most transferable offensive skill sets right now in the draft. I could totally see him being a guy that doesn't have that top-end skill. He won't make highlight reel plays, but he'll get the job done offensively, which is what he's done in the Liga so far. And adding on to that amazing defensive ability, if not the best defensive ability in the draft, he's a guy that will be super valuable. And for a team like Minnesota in need of a center, it's almost a no-brainer. Now getting into my top 3 for the 2020 NHL Draft. On to the LA Kings pick, and my third best prospect, I have Alexander Holtz. Swedish stud at age 17, right winger / left winger at 6 foot. Alexander Holtz has had a brilliant SHL season. Yes, he is getting more time than Lucas Raymond, but if I had to pick a prospect between the two that has played better, it's Alexander Holtz. And it's not even close. Now, so far in the Swedish season, Holtz has been able to play 14 games, has gotten 4 goals, 2 assists for 6 points so far. And a lot of the main criticism against him was that he was one of the more one-dimensional players in the draft, which I didn't exactly disagree with. He was my 3rd overall pick for a long time last year, then switched to that 4th and 5th overall pick in October, but now he's back to number 3, which I think is where he deserves to be. To me, compared to a guy like Lucas Raymond, while Raymond is younger, he's had a much more tough time transitioning in the SHL compared to Holtz. Holtz has been a lot better offensively, a lot more complete than even I expected, and from what I see in the SHL so far, especially from him, I've been nothing but impressed. Now getting into my second best prospect in the NHL Draft, and just like the number 1 overall pick, this number 2 is pretty much on lockdown, pretty much sealed right now. And for my second best prospect, New Jersey Devils pick, I have Quinton Byfield. Center, age 17, 6'4", 214 pounds. The New Jersey Devils are bad once again. Getting another guy like Quinton Byfield would be absolutely amazing. But right now he's leading the OHL in points, and at 6'4" is an offensive beast and just an all-around beast. Now, Quinton Byfield, right now sitting on an August birthday, is one of the youngest prospects in the draft, but is one of the best in the draft. Right now tied in OHL scoring with Arthur Kaliev, who's almost, I think, more than a year older than him. Quinton Byfield, in 16 games so far with Sudbury, has gotten 11 goals, 20 assists for 31 points. Unfortunately, he's under a 2-point per game, but is still an excellent rate right now. He might not get the OHL scoring title, but he should be very close. And I think 100 points from him is pretty much the status quo. Now getting into my first overall pick, the Ottawa Senators, sitting at the last place team in the league, would get the first overall pick. And while Quinton Byfield has been fantastic, there's been some other rookies and prospects that have done amazingly too. There is still no doubt that Alexis Lafreniere is the best prospect in the 2020 draft. Left winger, age 18, 6'1", 192 pounds. Basically, forgetting his stats, he has the skill to be one of the best players in the NHL. And adding into his stats, he right now is on pace to beat Sidney Crosby's draft year scoring. I don't know how it happens, but it has. Now, through 17 games in the QMJHL, Alexis Lafreniere has 12 goals, 31 assists for 43 points. That is pretty healthy over a 2-point per game, and yes, it is the QMJHL, but those stats are still insanely impressive. And we've seen a much bigger sample size too. Rimouski has gotten a lot more games recently, but Alexis Lafreniere has come up to the task. Again, being over a 2-point per game is super rare in the QMJHL, but Alexis Lafreniere has been able to do it so comfortably and so seamlessly so far this season. With just amazing offensive skills overall, he could be the best pick since Connor McDavid, and that's saying something. And there you have it. Those are my top 15 prospect rankings for November for the 2020 NHL Draft. And of course, the questions are on to you all. Let me know down in the comments down below what you think of my top 15 prospect rankings. What do you agree and disagree with on my list? And of course, the question on to you. Who do you think are the best prospects right now in 2020? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you should click on this card right here to watch my full 2020 NHL Draft playlist with all my rankings, analysis, and scouting reports. Trust me, there's a lot there, and you'll want to watch it all. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on my top 15 rankings, what you agree and disagree with. Share this video with your friends, anybody that you know that likes prospects or any of these guys. Make sure you get the word out. We're almost at 10K subscribers, boys. I'm Nathan, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.